Welcome back, students of class 8. Today, let us move on to the next topic, that is the extensive commercial green farming. In the last class, we have discussed still nomadic herding, and today we will discuss about extensive commercial green farming. What were once the temperate grasslands are today the granaries of the world. Today, the prairie and the steppe lands are used to cultivate grain, especially wheat on a very large scale, the bulk of which is for world trade. What were once a grasslands is now used for these cultivations. And in this cultivation, they cultivated crops, especially wheat, on a very large scale. And the bulk means the heavy of which is for the wood trade. In contrast to intensive agriculture, in the tropics, extensive commercial green farming is characteristic of those parts of the world where population is relatively low and fertile land is available in plenty. Farms are therefore very large, ranging from 250 to 15,000 hectares. In this type of farming, a large part of land is used and fertile land is available in plenty. And hence, these land are very big, ranging from 250 to 15,000 hectares of land. As the farms are large, almost all work is highly mechanized and scientifically managed. Little human labor is employed per farm. All work beginning from plowing to harvesting is done by machines, tractors, levelers, seed drills, and combine harvester that reap thresh, winnow, and set the grain are in use. This type of agriculture is therefore capital intensive. In this type of agriculture, as you can see in the picture, mostly machines are used. Tractors are used for plowing the field and even for harvesting. And in these types of farming, wheat is the main crop and is of two varieties, spring and winter wheat. And other crops would be barley, oats, rye, and corn may be grown along with the sugar beet and vegetables. Chemical fertilizers are also used in large quantities to ensure good yields. Yields may be low per hectare, but yields per farm are very high because of the large size of the farms. In the temperate lands, monoculture or concentration on the cultivation of one crop allows crop specializations and therefore very high yields. And next we have this dairy farming. When we say dairy farming, it means commercial dairy farming involves the raising of animals primarily for their milk and milk products like cream, butter, condensed milk, and cheese. In this dairy farming, it is mainly the rearing of animals that provides milk and milk products like cream, butter, condensed milk, and cheese. Dairy farming is practiced on large commercial dairy farms in temperate lands to meet the large international demand for dairy products, and also on near large cities and towns to meet their requirements as in the tropics and subtropics. This dairy farming is practiced around urban and industrial centers over the world following the White Revolution. A major development has come about in the production of milk and milk products, due to which our country has become one of the largest producers of milk and exporters in the world. You all know that White Revolution. When we say White Revolution, it means the increase of production of milk. That is the White Revolution. And because of this, it leads India in the largest producers of milk and exporters of milk in the world. Next, we have this mixed farming. Okay, mixed farming. When we say mixed farming, in this type of farming in which rearing of livestock and cultivation of crops are done together. Here, if you look at the picture, there you will find a plantation of crops that is rice and rearing of livestock that is fish. That is done together at the same time. And these are done together because on these livestock are raised on huge ranches for their milk, meat, and wool. In this mixed farming, there you find rearing of animals and rearing of crops will be done together so that the meat from the livestock are dependent for food. And a variety of crops are grown under mixed farming. Crop predominates along with wheat, oats, soybeans, and fodder crops. When we say fodder crops, it means the crops that you fed to the animals. That is the fodder crops. Farms vary in size from about 80 acres in Europe to over 300 acres in the USA and Canada. A large amount of the crop is also sold commercially. Skill health is higher during the plantation and harvesting for for the care of the livestock. Most crop work is mechanized. And here in this mixed farming, machines are also used in this type of mixed farming. And next we have this plantation agriculture. When we say plantation agriculture, it is defined as the growing and processing of a single cash crop on a very large scale, mostly for the purpose of export. Mostly for the purpose of trade and commerce purpose. In these types of plantation farming, there you will find a tea leaves farming, a banana farming, or a rubber tree farming. These are all a part of this plantation farming. Large doses of fertilizers are used to ensure good yield and pesticides to protect the crop. Modern machinery is utilized to process the crop on the plantation itself. Variable environmental conditions have therefore led to the variations in agriculture patterns and processes. These keep changing with time and in response to changing human needs. If you look at the picture, there you will find a plantation of a tea leaves and a banana. These are a part of this plantation farming. Okay, write down the notes that I'll be giving you. Listen carefully and note down, as this will be your important for upcoming promotional exams. See question number 1. Explain how climate influence agriculture. Explain how climate influence agriculture. The answer is plants thrive best under certain temperature conditions. Plants thrive, THRIVE, thrive best under certain temperature conditions, which also determine their growth period. The annual and seasonal distributions of rainfall. The annual and seasonal distributions of rainfall determines the available water supply to plants and the active growth period of crops. Question number 2. Why is shifting cultivation also known as slash and burn cultivation or burn agriculture? Answer. Shifting cultivation is also known as slash and burn agriculture because trees covering the land to be used for farming are felled, FELLED, are felled, and vegetation is burned. Question number 3. How does crop rotation help solve fertility? Question number 3. The answer for question number 3. In countries with smaller areas for farming, crop rotation with vegetables, all seeds, fruits and even sugarcane returns fertility. To the soil and balances water shortage in the dry months. Leguminous crops like beans add nitrogen to the soil. Question number 4. Why is mechanization not so important in intensive subsistence agriculture? Write down the answer. This is because hand labor is required at every stage of farming. Such as tilling, sowing and harvesting. This is because hand labor is required at every stage of farming, such as tilling, sowing and harvesting. Full stop. There is no dearth of farm workers. DEARTH, dearth of farm workers, as this type of farming is usually practiced in areas with large population. Okay, next question number 5. What is plantation agriculture? Plantation agriculture can be defined. Plantation agriculture can be defined as the growing and processing of a single cash crop on a very large scale. Processing of a single cash crop on a very large scale, mostly for a purpose of export. Mostly for a purpose of export. And next, D. Answer the following questions in detail. Question number 1. List the main differences between extensive commercial green farming and intensive subsistence agriculture. Write down the answer. In the extensive green farming, comma, almost all work is highly mechanized and scientifically managed. Almost all work is highly mechanized and scientifically managed. Full stop. Little human labor is employed per farm. Little human labor is employed per farm. All work beginning from plowing to harvesting is done by machines. All work beginning from plowing to harvesting is done by machines. Full stop. Tractors, levelers, Levellers, levelers, seed drills and combine harvesters, dead rib, truss, winnow and shake the grain, are in use. Full stop. This type of agriculture is therefore capital intensive. Full stop. On the other hand, intensive subsistence agriculture, on the other hand, intensive subsistence agriculture is mostly done by farm workers and family members of farmers. Full stop. So, it's not mechanized. Moreover, this type of farming is not capital intensive, and commercial, but subsistence oriented. And next, question number 3. Skip question number 2 and write down next question number 3. Write the differences in farming in India and the US. Answer. In India, farming is largely subsistence oriented, and non-commercial. Full stop. On the other hand, farming practice in the US is capital intensive, largely commercial and mechanized. Okay, that's all for today. Note down the given questions and answers carefully. Thank you.